I'm Susanna, Director of International for the Royal Institute of British Architects. I'm delighted to join you today to introduce this launch event for the Women in Architecture Digital Nexus, delivered by RIBA China Chapter in collaboration with RIBA Woofy Shanghai Limited. The RIBA is a global professional network driving excellence in architecture to deliver better buildings and places, stronger communities and sustainable development. Since the opening of our first international office in Shanghai in December 2019, we are engaged in a suite of activities in China, championing design excellence in a variety of formats. It is important to us that we engage and support our international architecture community at every stage of their career. This event kicks off a year-long program to support, inspire and champion women in architecture in China and diversity in architecture as a whole. The RIBA is fully committed to making architecture more inclusive. A diverse and inclusive profession is pivotal to meeting the challenges of the future, faced by our profession, of course. We have gone a long way since Ethel Mary Charles, the first woman to be elected to the RIBA in 1898. With the support of our expert advisory group, Architects for Change, the RIBA has made some great progress to deeply understand the key challenges that the architecture profession faces regarding equity, diversity and inclusion. To this end, we launched the RIBA Inclusion Charter last month, which I would encourage you to sign up to. The Charter and Action Plan aim to embed inclusive changes into business planning and practice to improve gender balance. Details can be found on our website, and we will also share the links with this film. Numerous studies show that a more diverse workforce is more effective and creates better returns for clients and building users. And we know that a profession that represents society will produce better buildings and places. There's still much to do to raise the profile, to represent the views and to promote the progression of women in architecture and the built environment professions generally. I very much hope many of you choose to join this campaign and support our global community. The more we can do, the better, the more results we will see. Lastly, I would like to thank the speakers for giving up their time to join us today, my team at RIBA, the China chapter in particularly, and Zhang and Ran, who has championed and led this project from its inception. So thank you, Enran. I also sincerely hope that you will enjoy today's program and also be part of the ones coming up. Until we meet, Sheshe.
Thank you, Aslina, for your opening words. It has been over 120 years since Ethel Mary Charles became the first woman admitted to the RIBA in 1898. A graduate with distinction from the Bartlett University College London, she also received the RIBA Silver Medal in 1905. Since then, numerous female architects have accomplished great design and influence in architecture, from Eileen Gray, Dame Jane Drew, Alison Smithson, Julia Barfield, to name a few. Since 1980, 5 women have won the RIBA Road Gold Medal: Patricia Hopkins, Sheila O'Donnell, Dame Zaha Hadid, and Grafton Architects founders Yvonne Farrell and Shirley McNamara. Recently, emerging Chinese female architects are recognized globally as a significant part of architecture's future powerhouse. With completely different cultural influences and regional environments, the time is ripe to examine contemporary challenges for women working in architecture. Therefore, the RIBA China Chapter has initiated a Women in Architecture Digital Nexus, an online platform that connects female architects globally, sharing their stories, celebrating their success. Our key objectives are to raise the awareness of the female design power in the architecture industry, address gender imbalance in architecture education by outreaching to high school students and inspire girls to consider architecture as a career option, provide mentorship program for young female architecture students and architects as part of the RIBA China Mentorship Program. These will be delivered through various program events that include Architects Roundtable series featuring prominent international female figures in architecture. The format is informal, in conversation style to encourage dialogue regarding the challenges faced by women professionals. The event will be filmed and shared online on both the RIBA China and UK platforms. We shall be organizing architecture school roadshows to RIBA accredited schools and other top architecture schools in China. The aim is to showcase female architect success to the future generations of architects, promoting gender equality and inspiring female students to overcome obstacles and pursue their dreams. Also, we plan to reach out to high schools through inspirational talks and one-day design competitions, expanding the Women in Architecture Digital Nexus to inspire future architects, encourage and mentor schoolgirls who want to join our profession. The content would include introducing architecture, an architect's academic and professional life, and one-day design competitions. These recorded events to be shared with other schools to promote architecture as a career for women. Understanding architecture is an interactive experience. Hence, where opportunity exists, Building by Women tours, either physical or online, will be part of our forthcoming program. We shall be selecting award-winning buildings of influential female architects and organizing our members and friends to visit them, with the architects as their guide. These visits will be shared on RIBA's website and China's app. Finally, we should look forward to launching an Unbuilt by Women architecture exhibition by International Women's Day on the 8th of March 2021, calling for global entries and plan to open the exhibition on Ethel Day, July the same year. The show will be open to all female architects across the globe to submit sketches, drawings, and model images of unbuilt projects. The entries will be curated into an offline and online exhibition. We have many exciting events to come, and a detailed program is posted on the RIBA website, architecture.com. I want to take this opportunity to thank the British Council, our venue contributor, RIBA China Galleries, international directors of RIBA, Aslina Burma, Umi Liu, Head of Development China for RIBA, for the support. Now I would like to introduce Anran Jan, our dedicated Honorary Secretary of the China Chapter, who is the organizer and the host of our China Women in Architecture initiative. Anran.
So thank you, Aslina and Ken, for your opening words and the introduction to our RIBA China Chapter Women in Architecture Digital Nexus program. So welcome all for joining us today at the launching event, Architects Roundtable. As a young architect myself, may I just say how honored I am to host this roundtable and to be joined by some of the leading architects in China and in the UK. So here at the table we have Rebecca Cheng, principal at KPF Shanghai, Zhang Di, principal and founder of WIADN Architects, and in the UK we have Valeria Pizzetti, RIBA Vice President membership, and also a member of the RIBA Board of Trustees. She is also a specialist conservation architect in the UK. So thank you for joining us, Valeria, from
thank you for having me.
Many miles away. So on my right-hand side, I have Michelle Yip, who is the founder of Fei Architects and Fei Arts. And then we have Susanna Swee, managing principal and executive vice president Asia at B+H. And special thank you goes to you, Ken Wai, global design principal at WIADN and RIBA International Council member for Asia and Australasia regions, and of course our very own honorary chair of the RIBA China Chapter.
Well, thank you for having me. I feel honored.
Thank you so much for supporting the Women in Architecture program and to join us, offering this very balanced view on this topic. So, to give an overview of the professional environment of how women are practicing as architects today, let's look at some statistics. So globally, we have 1-to-1 ratio of boys and girls in architecture schools, and this is pretty much the same in China. Only a little different, like we have 60% of boys and 40% of girls in architecture schools. However, if you look at this figure in the professional world, let's look at the gender ratio in registered architects in the UK. It's about 28% female and 72% of male. And if you look at this figure in China, it's pretty similar. And then globally, we actually have only 15% of female as registered architects. So today, we want to discuss what it really means to become an architect for women. And we want to highlight the aspirations, the success, the struggles, and the sweat of those women, especially through the stories that you are going to share in a bit. So without further ado, let's start our roundtable, the first session of the roundtable, which is Ask the Architect. So Dee, congratulations on winning the AIA Honor Award in Architecture Design and Best in Show Award for your Eagle Studio project in Hangzhou. And you said that the Eagle Studio is a place to dream. So let's talk a bit more about dreams. How do you create a place to dream in this project?
Eagle Studio is an art school which provides 10 months intensive art training course, which is full boarding. It's almost the only shortcut to access the country's best art universities. So in client's word, he called it Dream Factory. So the interesting word here for me is the factory, because I don't really think this type of school exists in the UK. On the very first visit, we were very shocking by the fact we saw like hundreds of students sitting on very small stool and then painting nonstop for like 10 hours in warehouse-like spaces. So the daily routine is solely divided between the dormitory and the painting studios. There's nothing else. So the first question came to us was, what does art even mean to those people? We had this urge. And then about what we can actually do to help with those kids. Simply just by not letting them to live so badly for 10 months of their youth time, which I think is one of the most precious period of one's life. We cannot change the exam system, but at very least, we can allow them to be able to feel they are part of a big group. So the so-called collectivism become a quite romantic idea here. They will be able to see and feel each other and gather a feeling of solidarities. So we create a place for them. The place becomes the key word here, which is a group of diversity type of spaces collected together and treated at smaller human scales. Both teachers and the student will be able to control their environment to a certain extent and occupy it however they like, perhaps a sense of home. So the building become a three-dimensional social grid. The major effort was made to blur the inside and outside boundaries. You will be able to see and feel and hear the others. So get a permanent sense, a permanent state of transition. Through moving, the people will be able to visually and also emotionally engage with a larger group of people who share the very particular reason, perhaps dreams, to be at this place. So that's what we thought about this project.
Very exciting scheme indeed. Very simple use of material, quite strong actually. Some of the material is very harsh. At the same time, got very lightweight screens and great focus on light as well within the studio. I think this is a very powerful scheme indeed. So, I mean, you've been very successful. Spent 10 years in your practice doing something like this is amazing. Perhaps you can let us know how you all started. I mean, what was your kind of important milestone in your career and your practice from the day you got your first commission to perhaps now?
Yeah, it's been 10 years. 10 years is not very long for architectural practicing. I think we just get started. In 2010, how we started, we do have a number of key points in our development. At the very beginning, the first year we won a competition, but the scheme didn't go any further than concept design, but the fee was enough for us to live for the rest of the year. And what most importantly is allowed us to have a conversation with people, and the people start asking us for proposals. That's how we got this job. The MOCA Incheon, which is the Contemporary Art Museum in Incheon. We worked on this project between 2011 and 2015. It's the first completion project in the office. We work on architectural design, interior and landscape to detail design stage. And it's the first time we work with a local design institute, and the first time we work with facade engineers. And also we were given the responsibility to provide supervision on site for the compliance of visual intent, design intent. So we also work with local contractor. So this project was very important milestone for us. And between that and then, we started to do a number of interior projects since 2013-14. Smaller scales, interior or renovation, wherever that comes to us. It helps the office to keep on going because you can't always expect big jobs. And B, which I think is very important, is that we practicing our skills of detailing. Because both me and my partner, we used to work at Foster. Foster tells you every detail is possible. But when you work in China, it's not that feasible. So we kind of learn to work with local techniques and then local contractor, and then that's really helps us a bunch of interior small scale projects. And then another important milestone completed last year, which is the Eagle Studio I just mentioned. Between 2017 to 2020, is the first large-scale project, which is 74,000 square meters. We've done to full construction package, including architecture, interior, and landscape. And it's also the first time we do a site office. And then because the project schedule required the interior and the cladding and the landscape almost around the same time. So it's also a big test for us to run things parallel. I think those are important milestones. For us, a small practice, you can't always be picky about jobs. Basically, we just whoever that comes to us. So I think quite importantly is architecture is, I believe architecture is a type of job which can only be improved by project. So we just basically didn't want to waste any opportunities. Even the most undeveloped brief, we're still just trying to learn something. So sometimes maybe it's about learning a new program, sometimes about, of course, a new concept, sometimes maybe just new material, and sometimes could just be very simple combination of color or something, because we didn't want to waste the time we spent on projects. So yeah, that's how we got here. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, no matter how big a practice is, you've got big ideas.
We have 10-ish people, so very small.
Thank you very much for sharing your key milestones and how you moved from the very, very start old way to here. I think it's very, very inspiring for young architects and young students who wants to start their own business. So moving on, Michelle. Congratulations to you too on winning the WIADN 2020 award for Best Housing Projects. And I'd like to discuss the borderless community with you. I really, really love the way that how you turned the concept of co-living into a very creative community. So what inspired you to create such a design, and what was your approach to create the so-called borderlessness in the space?
Thanks to my work with the design studio and art museum, so around me there is a lot of friends. They are artists and designers. their lifestyle was so stimulating because they work and life and doing their social activities or branded. We call it borderless. So that's why I'm thinking about to make a design of house that have the user-defined space. Just like the picture you see, it's like a bath pool, but actually we can provide the same floor plan, but the residents, they can try their creative ideas to use the space. So if you can use as like a pool, but you can use as like a balcony, or you can for the kids, they can as like a playground. So it's the ideas that I come up with. It's like participatory joining design workshop. So it's some of my friends, they come to discuss the design with me, and then so it looks like this. Come out would be like this is a ramp to connect the upstairs and the downstairs, but also someone will use this as like a gallery to show their art pieces. And also about the borderless is talking about the building, the architecture and the nature, because all of my friends, they love the gardens. They want to do everything in gardens. So this is a renovation of an old factory. So we just pull down the exterior wall, and then we build the kitchen, the bathroom, the study room, etc. On the long balcony. And then later, the living space and the green space integrated. So the border between the architecture and nature was disappeared. It looks like this. We call it a living museum. We didn't design the facade. It was the lifestyle to generate the facade. So we call it borderless. And also the neighborhood relationship was the even more interesting part, because we think that the peoples, they with similar interests, when they live together, they will exchange more and create more interesting ideas. So we try to create lots of the opportunity of communication. So we build a lot of the balconies facing together, and also the corridors and the common areas that they can, for their communication in the daily life. It's like how they can chat in their own balconies. So this is how we done, and it's actually just after we complete the project, it was the announce of the Venice Biennial 2020, and the name, the theme was how will we live together. So, and then coming up with the outbreak of the COVID-19, so people found maybe the borderless way of living, it would be the chat. It's maybe forbidden, but maybe I think sometimes it's good for women or female architects, because our friends, they are all like that. They're raising their kids and at the same time doing their projects, and sometimes online broadcasts. The life is like that.
So we are constantly breaking the boundaries or borders in our lives. The life of architects, women as architects would be to actually be borderless.
Yes, be borderless. Then maybe we can, maybe for female architects, we can achieve more highly successful.
I think so. I mean, I really admire this project. It brings community together, and it's kind of organic in the sense of growth, right? And then the expression itself. And in the way I see, maybe being a female architect or woman architect, you actually have a different type of insight to design that is different to otherwise a male approach to design. Do you see that? Is there a difference, do you think?
Because I have never been a male, so I don't know.
Bravo.
I think the difference is maybe it's sometimes men would be more ambitious to be successful, and they will look at the target and to run for it maybe. And on my side, I just thinking how to let the people live in this house or working in this house would be happy. So because that was my first project on office building. Before I was working in a high-rise building, and the window cannot open and no greens, and yeah, I don't like it. So I just think what I would like, and then I just draw it out. And I found the people they all like, even like the house I have built for the borderless community. It's also like this. So just follow your heart.
How do you actually get into getting your jobs, and how do you actually cross the boundary that in terms of the client and your project, you can actually become the person they focus on to become the leaders in the project and the designer to provide the solutions?
Actually, I start my own design studio was really by accidental because actually it's not my project, it's my boss' project. Actually, that time I was immigrate to US. I just on vacation come back to mainland China, but he's too busy, and then he asked me for like as an assistant, and then it's just in very short time I complete the project, and then so far it's the client was so satisfied, and he bring a lot of his friends to come to visit his headquarters building. So that's why I stay in mainland China, and then start my career to set up this independent small design studio.
So, Rebecca, I know that you are a registered architect in both Hong Kong and also in mainland China, and also you are a chartered member of the RIBA. At the same time, you are very active with the ULI China as well as AIA Shanghai. As the principal at KPF Shanghai, I believe your daily job is really to oversee, the local operations of the company, and you're excelling at project management, delivery all of your high-profile projects, very efficiently in China. So, can you please share with us, how you grow from, a student all the way to who you are now? And what are the challenges that you have faced on this journey?
Thank you for your questions, and you make me feel that I have achieved a lot.
You have, you certainly have.
But I think similar to Michelle, I think I don't have that kind of ambition from day one, and it's all like naturally happen. The reason why I am not just a registered Hong Kong architect, but by the way, I need to correct, I'm not a registered architect in China. I'm just qualified as a Class A architect in China. It's by be an architect at a very special time, that when Hong Kong and China were talking about mutual recognition of the profession at the same time. So basically, I took the opportunity. It's a shortcut. That being said, I think I really had a very fruitful career in architecture. Even though my passion, unlike these two ladies who are running their own studios and deliver very interesting small project, I'm somehow being dragged into this large-scale project. So my company, KPF, has been working in China, very luckily in the past 20 years, on many very influential, high-profile mixed-use projects. Easily over 200,000 square meters. So within those projects, I'm just part of the project team. I think I'm very fortunate that I'm be the architect at the right time. It's the opportunity by this like huge development of China that give me the opportunity to become a very successful professional, if you will. I'm also very benefited by my experience of being able to go to UK and then to Hong Kong and work in Hong Kong for 7 years, then move back to Shanghai. And it's simply because that at that time, the professionals who had such experience are not so many. So I'm very lucky that to be at the right time and being worked with the KPF and the right project. Right. And they invited me to join their project in Shanghai. So without knowing that I would become a principal of KPF. So I took the job by, my assignment was just to support 2 projects in Shanghai, and without even having an office. So I worked from a consultant's office. I think my experience really, so I'm very fortunate to work with this company because I feel that I'm surrounded by very talented and creative and also very smart people. So you become smart people if you are surrounded by smart people. So I think that's trick number 1 for junior, for our young architects. Yes. Because the environment will keep pushing you to be more professional, yes. Be more efficient, and be more knowledgeable in your career.
Definitely. I think you mentioned quite a few times that you were very lucky to be given the opportunity at the right time. But I think it's also because, when you're ready, when your capabilities gives you these channels, these windows where you can actually go and seize the opportunities. So I think it's a two-way street or a two-way relationship. One is that you've got to be strong, you have your enough skill sets, and the other one is that when the opportunity comes, you go and get it, you seize that, and you trust in yourself, and you just do that. Right? I
mean, you never be ready. Okay. I think my experience is if somebody tell you, say, you go ahead to do this, even you feel you are not ready, actually you are already ready. Okay. Because when people ask you to do this, so you have to trust yourself and to in a lot of occasions, I'm not ready. I feel I'm not ready, but I feel just give a shot. Yeah. And after a few times, you feel you will know that nobody is ready. So I learned from a lot of my colleagues. So I mean, to get some mentors, to model roles, it's quite important. And if I look back, that helped me to grow to where I am in a great deal. So one of my mentors is Paul Katz, who was president of KPF, passed away like 5 years ago. And he inspired me so much by encouraging me, not saying that you could do the job, but actually he led me to do what I feel is the right thing to do. And then also he and some other principals from KPF, like Jamie, I feel they are so interested, not just the project in China, but the culture and the history and the environment, and say making a better world. This sounds not very real, but I feel to be a good architect, you need to have that faith that what you are doing, what you spend time on, so much time, is with a higher goal, not just to finish a project, keep your client happy, but actually you are achieving a higher goal.
Definitely. Have faith in what you do.
Yeah, have a faith and the interest. in what I'm doing. And another thing, if you feel I achieved so much, is I'm very grateful for the support from my family that allows me to pursue my career and also to have the room to grow. In a lot of in many occasions, I remember I'm really very grateful to my husband, who at some critical point of time encouraged me to move up. When Jamie told me that he was ready to promote me to partner, I was actually quite nervous. I feel that means a higher responsibility and even busier life. But my husband told me that you should go for it and you deserve. I think this is a little push and makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate it.
Well, Rebecca, I mean, I've known you for many years as a personal friend and your husband and family. How do you balance your time to be operating such a huge operation and a huge international practice? And how does the practice itself support your way of working, having a family and balance your life?
I don't feel I'm operating KPF Shanghai office in a way that I'm not alone. KPF is running, it's running like globally. The design and client service is are provided by the global team. So the Shanghai office are not running independently. So I'm not feeling the pressure that I need to get the project and to make sure my colleagues in Shanghai has a salary to support their families. So I never got that kind of pressure. So my time is focusing on service the client, and also is, on top of it is to make sure that my colleagues are happy working here. Because I always feel that your colleagues are spending more time with you than with their family. Given architecture is a long hour career. So the life, in the balance, talking about the balance, at home I feel I have 2 boys. The family is another business. So actually that is a business I'm running. Actually it's more complex than the office business, which in a way I learned a lot through dealing with IEs, dealing with my mother-in-laws, my father-in-laws, and even my 2 kids and their schools. So all those things I just want to share the experience with our younger female architects. These are not burden, actually it's give you strength and also pleasures that could balance your, could be like a routine career life. It is more about, I read somewhere, it is more about the work-life integration rather than balance. Because it's never be able to balance whether your family needs you more or your work needs you more. It is an integration.
So Susanna, I find your past experience fascinating as it's so diverse. You've run your own practice, you've done an MBA, and you've had your own fashion brand, and now you're holding a executive position at a global architectural practice. So I believe such a rich experience must be very, very useful on your work on a daily basis. So please share with us, what do you think are the unique things that women can bring into the industry, and especially at an executive position?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I think women bring a different perspective to the table. It's almost like an alternative dimension to architecture. Women leaders tend to focus beyond the P&L of the company. We focus on workplace culture, on thought leadership, and also on people. I think people management is so important, being a leader, because people are generally very complicated creatures. So I find that as women leaders, we bring in very much a personalize leadership to the company to the extent where we can say we are being caring or being sympathetic. I think about 3 weeks ago, I had this case which I was dealing with was a colleague of mine who had just returned from overseas, and she was in a quarantine in a hotel. And unfortunately, the second week of the quarantine, she received news that one of her loved ones had passed on. So I was really burdened, and I felt that we really had to support her. And of course, we can't go there and see her, but so what I felt that we could do was to just kind gestures, like sending her flowers to cheer her up, like, just sending her some of her favorite food. So I think all these issues which women think about, I think men maybe, not to such a detailed extent. And also, I think as a woman, I think we somehow have to deal with a lot of crises. In fact, we are living in a pandemic crisis right now, and not too long ago, we also, if you remember, the Asian financial crisis. So how you manage a crisis, I think, determines how successful a leader you are. And for us, we manage a home, like what Rebecca said, right? And home is very complicated. Managing a home is like, crisis management all the time. But I think women are different in that we tend to be more detailed. I think in terms of like, we tend to, ask, for example, in a crisis, what are the issues, right? And how do we solve the issues? And we leverage on the people we have, the team we have, and the connections we have to solve the crisis. Whereas I believe men tend to just react, I think, and women spend, a plan, a longer time. And also I think women are also tend to be more patient, and they tend to have more endurance. So I would say that the attributes that I think a woman leader brings to the table is empathy, is openness, and also rationality. Because I think these are attributes which are so unique to women like us. And also, of course, I think being open, being very open, and to like to ask a lot of questions all the time to find out why. I think that's also about communication. I think women are very good listeners. Do you agree with me, Ken? Well, it depends. But anyway, yes, I think we, and also we are, I guess we are also observers, right? Yeah. You don't have to agree.
I do agree.
Yeah. So and I think because of that, we tend to think more of greater issues than what we have to deal with. And also collaboration. I think collaboration, again, I find women being very highly collaborative. And in fact, the company that I work for, the model that we have is actually collaborating with all our different studios. We do that all the time. And again, also in terms of, I find, a very, very unique attribute for women is multitasking. Right? We have to handle so many things all the time, right? We have to do everything right all the time. and I just even remember, incidences whereby I was at a corporate meeting, right? A serious corporate meeting, financial meeting. And then suddenly I remember, gosh, I have to be in school, right? For my son's birthday. Right? And I remember I promised him I'm going to bring a cake, right? And I need to go to the bakery because I know what type of cake he likes, a special type of cake. So I have to then quickly rush to the bakery, get the cake, and then go to school and spend the birthday with my son. And when I saw the smile on his face, right?
how happy he was to see the mom going. He knows I have a very busy schedule, right? To see him and with a cake, you know, that smile itself is worth millions. It's worth more than winning a project. Right. So sometimes, you know, people say that we are superwoman, but actually it's not that we both were superwoman, but it's something which we have to deal with, right? Yeah. And the other thing is also I find that women make very good mentors. I think we're very good coaches simply because we have to deal with so many different aspects and so many different, like even male and female staff that we have, and we mentor them differently. Then, I mean, I am very fortunate that I have my president of Asia, who has been a very good mentor to me. She is a lady, and she's also in a very similar position as me, having, you know, families with a husband, and then also children who are more or less the same age or profile. So I observe and I learn so much from her, how she can manage all these complex situations and manage a few studios at a time, and yet stay cool, and yet always be there for us. And I think that's something which is very valuable experience for me. And of course, I mean, my mom, of course, my greatest mentor, because you know, although she's a housewife, but she knows every business decision that's been made in my dad's company. And she's the one who tells me, look, you know, I put you through university, right? Not for you to be a housewife like me last time, but, you know, to aspire to, you know, to actually in the corporate and be a woman executive. So she really inspired me to do that from young.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit on this mentorship. So within KPF, I also got a very good mentor, Jill Nenner, who has been the only female partner in KPF for many years. And she is the model role for the younger generation. So whenever she's making a decision or speak up for something, she's think about the women community. And for instance, like this forum, and I called her, say, oh, I'm going to this RIBA, the Women Leadership Forum, and going to talk about this subject. And can I pick up your brain, and can we have a conversation? She always make herself available to listen and to talk to me. So I would encourage the young architects to find your mentor, and always to talk to her or to talk to him. This would be very beneficial, and she's so helpful, and she was the AIA New York president at one time, which gave me a lot of confidence that I can handle more activities like you mentioned. So I started to spend more time with ULI or AIA. Yeah.
Okay. So mentorship does prove its necessity and its importance. So I'm actually very curious. Maybe this question is for you three, holding executive positions at global architecture practices. So do women have equal opportunities in competing for executive positions in architectural practices?
Yeah, architecture is a very competitive field. I think as earlier, I think we also shared that it's still very much male-dominated. Like I think in senior leadership, we find that there are not that many actually women leaders. But of course it is changing, and I think it's getting better. Women somehow, they have to somehow also work harder to get to that level of the leadership, because somehow, men are still considered as, more of the decision maker. There are more men out there, and also considered to be more authoritative and self-control and all that, all the traits of leadership. So women really have to work much harder to get there. But of course, in architecture, women leaders who have good connections, networking, they can actually climb very high in the corporate ladder. I just want to share with you that it's very interesting for B+H. Studies have shown that in companies who have more women in the board and also in their senior management, actually they perform very well in terms of both financial and social returns. Now at B+H, our senior management in terms of the gender in diversity, it's very much more diverse than I think many of the global architectural firms, because 40% of our senior management are women, and also about 40% of the board, which is elected and management, are actually also women. Our president of Asia is a woman. Our chief financial officer is a woman. And our global lead for sustainability is also a woman. And also we have 3 managing principals across our 10 studios who are also women. Yeah, and I think within the company, we have 50% of the principals in Asia are women. So it's very, very interesting, to note that. So I think, diversity is a good thing. Women being different is a good thing. Because when you are different, I think somehow, you catch the attention of, other people. They want to hear from you because you're different. And for us as women executive, I think in architecture especially, we are very used to being in a room full of men. Yeah, I think we have kind of gotten used to it, and actually, it's okay. We love it because we get the attention. Yeah. Earlier, I did say that I think women, they have to work harder to climb up the corporate ladder. So I think that women are actually given the equal opportunity, but then they have to do more in that. For instance, I think they have to equip themselves with different skills. And that's actually one reason why I took up MBA, because I felt that architecture is not just about design. Architecture is actually a business. How do you run a successful business? So with MBA, I actually learned a lot on the other aspects of not just design, but running a company. Yeah, I think we do have the equal opportunities, but I think it depends on your choice. Some of us women choose not to be at the top, right, of the executive ladder. Some of us, somehow we go for it. Yeah.
I think what Rebecca and Susanna said is very true, actually, and that's what we believe in terms of our female directors as well and top management. We don't have such a high management ratio, perhaps nearing 30% at the moment, but we're giving the opportunity to see that we need a diversified board, basically, because you have a balanced view. And at IDIS, for instance, we believe in capability. Ability speaks for everything. Correct. And we define it as equal opportunity. We never see a staff as being a male or female person. It's how they can do, how they can perform, and how much they want to do, I think. And then the return is given to the opportunity. Sure. So I think from when I first started architecture some time ago, I think it's changed so much. Nowadays, I'm very hard pushed to find a male assistant architect, because most of the students are actually girls, I think. So, do you find that? But we don't actually look at them. We just look at a person and what they can do, the skill level, and what potential they have. And this is what we invest in, potential. So, I think management, I won't talk about percentage, but I would say in future, the more diversified you are, the more advantage you have.
Yeah.
Just by the fact that we're different, I think we also don't have to be like, be a boys' club or whatever. We can just be ourselves. Yes, of course, when I was young, and I told my mom that my ambition is to be an architect. And the first thing she said was, no, I don't think it's suitable for you. Architects have to all the time wear pants and, have to wear hard hats going to site, and it's very masculine. And you love to wear dresses, beautiful clothes, so I don't think you should do architecture. You should do medicine instead, at that time. But, I never felt that way at all. In fact, I can dress whatever I like. I can go to work in whatever, dresses, or in suits, or in casual, in anything. So it's just to be yourself. And I guess maybe that's also one reason why when you said earlier that I started my own fashion brand, that's also probably something which an aspiration I wanted to fulfill for myself. Yes, because my dream and my collection was more focused on women than on men.
I can't agree more with Susanna in terms of if as a female architect moving to a senior executive position, the opportunity is there. It's one is your choice, another it's extra effort and commitment to be that level. So I personally I don't think any company should try to reach to like a 50-50 as a goal to achieve the so-called equal opportunity status, but rather focus on nurture the talent that to allow them to grow beyond their potential. So that, as like Michelle mentioned, her project is borderless. So there's don't set a limit to yourself, and you will follow your heart and follow your opportunities, and you will beyond your imagination.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's all very inspiring, and I'm sure that encourages a lot of women in the profession to actually aim for their dreams. Valeria, so you are the RIBA Vice President for Memberships Development. And of course, you are a specialist conservation architect leading a multidisciplinary team specialized in interventions in historic environment. You are heading the Conception Architects studio in the UK. I would really like to know your view on the challenges presented to women in the industry in the contemporary world.
Thank you, Enron. I'm mostly familiar with the situation in the UK and the situation, the issues with women progression in architecture seems to start at university. There seems to be a slightly stumbling blocks that a lot of our talent, women talent, find during the education process. And therefore we have got, thank you for mentioning those statistics, because we do have a 50-50 split of male to female ratio in part one of our university progress. And then that becomes a less and less percentage of women as they progress into the career. This is unfortunately, is an historic one. Is an issue that is due to the fact that until very recently, architecture was a male-dominated field. Construction is still mostly a male-dominated field. The language that is used in architecture is often male-oriented. The way that our education is structured is fairly aggressive in terms of the language, the style of the crits, that our students have to go through in the different stages of their education. And the result is those statistics that you read, actually, in terms of the ratio between male and female within the RIBA, as you know, there is the AIB, which is the statutory registration for architects, and then there's the AIB, which is our chartered institute. The ratio between male and female is even worse. We are now around about 22 to 78% of women to men. So there is an historic, inherited issue with the access and the retention of women in architecture. The situation is getting better. There is more awareness, and I think discussion panels and roundtables like this one do help. This is why I enthusiastically joined you today, because it's very important to have examples and role models that could inspire the future of the future women in architecture. As I said, the issues are mainly historic, and so there is a little bit of perception that architecture is very much a profession that requires long hours, that is not compatible with having a family and a private life outside of the office, is still very much radicated. And whether it is actually true on the ground is the message that our female students hear from those who are supposed to inspire them to continue their profession in architecture. As a woman managing a company that employs mostly women, I can tell you that that is not the case. I mean, I have got young children. I've got 4-year-old twins. And I made a point when I started Conception Architect to be conscious of the balance, the right balance between life and work. And I think that's where the key is. And it's how we communicate the fact that there has been a conversation within the architecture profession, that we have identified the fact that there hasn't been a sufficient opening in the past to accommodate the requirements of carers, who happens to be in the majority women, but is more and more there is a growing percentage of men that are actually taking on the caring of their family. So it is becoming more of a wider issue, and we are having these conversations, which is a great breath of fresh air for me, being of a generation when being a female architect was a much more difficult experience. Is refreshing to see now that we are doing more and more, and I think it's thanks to women like us, is sort of trying to make the profession hear another voice. So I think we can be our own inspiration. I'm incredibly inspired by the wealth of talents that I'm seeing in front of me today. So that is something that we need to continue to advertise, broadcast, and also is about making people aware, and companies, especially larger companies, aware that productivity and success and measurable output do not necessarily be the equivalent of long hours. The flexible time, job sharing are still conducive to good architecture and good management of time. So there is that whole conversation. We are slightly behind, especially in the UK, in this conversation compared to other professions, like the legal profession, the medical profession. They've all had this conversation a bit sooner, but we are definitely catching up. And they increase, I gave you a very shocking statistic that 22% currently members of the RIBA are chartered members of the RIBA are actually women, but we went to from 17% only a few years ago. So it is changing. And when we go towards the wider category, so when we start including associates, when we start including students especially, then the average and the percentage become far closer. And that is reassuring. But we need to work very hard to retain this talent. We attract talent. School of Architecture attract talent. There are lots and lots of women that believe their career in architecture could be for them. We need to make sure that we retain them.
Valerie, perhaps you can explain from the perspective of the RIBA how RIBA can promote gender equality and recognition.
That's very true. That's very true, Ken. I think the RIBA has got a massive role to play, especially because, as we say, we have got the Architect Registration Board, which is purely a UK statutory institution. And then we've got the global RIBA. So the influence and the far-reaching consequences of decision and of pressure and of encouragement from the RIBA are far more reaching. So I think the RIBA has got a huge role to play in promoting the talent of women, which is in a way is promoting the talent in architecture. We need to get to a point where there isn't a difference, where you're a man or a woman. And I know a lot of female colleagues don't like to be called women architects. And I applaud that. I think it's great to be at a point where you don't want to be called a woman architect, but we're not there yet. We need to still work. We still need to work of men and women, because ultimately losing talent has got repercussion not just for the women who are not offered a career in architecture, but it's also for the communities, for the benefits, and for the very company that could benefit from their talent. So it is a wider issue, and I think the RIBA is moving in the right direction. We are having this conversation. Enron, you mentioned I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. We have got a really, really healthy representation of women in the governance body of the RIBA. So this is very important. The council can confirm that again in the council chamber, which is the representative body of the membership of the RIBA. There is pretty much a healthy split between men and women, and also in ages, because we forget sometimes that there is, as I mentioned before, the things are changing, and we are changing for the future generation, but the healthy changes could actually benefit also women in my generation that may have taken a step back because they felt there wasn't a place for them in architecture, and could find that in a more accommodating, a more flexible working environment, that the RIBA should and is taking charge of promoting. So, for example, as you know, the RIBA has different categories of membership. One of this is a chartered practice, and I'm sure that Ken is very familiar with that. So a chartered practice are basically practices that will have a ratio of architects that are members of the RIBA, but also sign up to a code of conduct. And therefore, as in my time as VP membership, I have started to collect, I've asked the team to start collecting data about the presence of women in those charter practices, which is something that we now have, and maybe a few years ago we didn't have, but also about the type of environment that those practices offer. So, for example, I mentioned flexible time, which is a very important part that is if we are to attract and retain the talent of carers and of those that feel that a good life and work balance is important, as we at RIBA feel it is. So we have started actually, and we are progressing in this evolution in speaking in a way that is representative of the type of institute that we want to be. And finally, we have the RIBA has been very active recruiting a new EDI director. I believe that there will be an announcement later this week, and that is definitely the step in the right direction in ensuring the equality and the promotion of inclusion is at the top of the RIBA agenda.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Valeria.